Why Wix? How a website builder can bring your writing class into Composition 2.0. What is composition in the 21st century? Jason Palermi admits that there was once a time when he knew what it meant to be a compositionist. Compositionist was someone who studied writing and the teaching of writing, but the definition of writing itself has changed. As Andrea Lunsford points out, where writing once meant print text, black marks on white paper, left to right and top to bottom, today writing is in full technicolor. It is nonlinear and alive with sounds, voices, and images of all kind. We're in this middle of a tectonic change, as Kathy Yancey points out. And we have to make sure that we're embracing tech issues not necessarily as part of what we do, but as essential to what we do. Because it's what is brought upon for all aspects of our life, and it's what students do every day. There have been a number of terms that go along with this. We've heard multimodal, multimedia, electronic writing, digital literacy, computers and writing, digital pedagogy, electracy, but I like to refer to it as Composition 2.0. That's how I see writing in the 21st century. And that brings us to the question of, well, what is writing when it is in Composition 2.0? How do we teach it, and what technologies can support this new kind of learning paradigm? Composition 2.0 came about as a term in the field from a 2002 special edition of Computers in Composition, where there were guest editors Michael Day, Randall McClure, and Mike Palmquist. They introduced this new pedagogical lens. They described Composition 2.0 as a movement that's defined by its iterative, collaborative, and participatory approach to composing and working with information. So these things are going to be built on not only just participatory actions among the classmates, but also the remediation and retelling of stories in a digital realm. And J. Elizabeth Clark also discusses this digital realm, and she proposed the idea of the digital imperative. Clark suggests that Composition Classroom should immerse students in analyzing digital media, in exploring the world beyond the classroom, in crafting digital personae, and creating new and emerging definitions of civic literacy. And in that sense, it is the duty of the teacher to make students critical digital citizens. This is the kind of writing they're going to be doing once they leave our classroom. So we need to be working within the classroom itself to scaffold that kind of writing for them. And the way that I've found to do it is through using website builders like Wix. Originally, I was using it because I had required ePortfolio assignments within my writing program. But I found that the more my students paid attention to concepts of digital design and remediation, the more that they took away from my class. No matter what path they take, these students will be designing some kind of web communication in the future. So I use website builders in my class for students to practice this web communication, to learn remediation, and to compose for real audiences. I have my first year writing students take all of the essays because, yes, at the core, we are still writing teachers. And I have them remediate them for digital spaces, thinking through what that might look like in an online environment. So, why Wix? Wix is my go to digital source in order to create these digital essays for my students. And I really like Wix because it supports this idea of participatory composition. Of course, it has fantastic individualized composing capabilities like making personalized websites, but it really is a powerful resource for building a community of writers. And it allows for multiple voices. Students can create blogs on their websites, offer comments, design projects together, develop team web projects. And what I tend to do with them is I will put all of their websites and screenshots in one place in a Padlet. We embed that into our course management system so people can easily access, read, comment on each other's work. And I have found that with this sort of participatory learning movement, that they become much more engaged in not only giving each other feedback, but also trying to make their projects the best that they can be because they know that they're being seen by other people. Furthermore, I think Wix allows for both continuity and change. And that's really what you get when you're thinking about composition as a new version, as 2.0, because with every version, there always has to be some sort of continuity and some kind of change. My continuity for this is, of course, yes, you're still going to be writing essays and thinking about the rhetorical situation and doing all the literacy movements and everything that we want to talk about in first year writing, but you're also trying to reincorporate them into a digital environment, so they're having to learn how to do that. This will help ease with transferring different concepts later on, because we're practicing that transfer to new context within the first year writing classroom as well. So they're able to do a mini version of transfer before they are transferring outside into different and new contexts. And as far as Wix goes, there's less of a learning curve than you may think. Wix has all these well-designed templates, and they're easy to incorporate your own customization through drag and drop sort of actions. So neither you nor the students have to know how to code, although there is HTML embedding options. And you can still create these beautiful, stunning websites. Students can focus on the rhetorical challenges of remediation in digital space rather than spending time learning a new language on top of a new platform. I would say Wix is going to be the least amount of teaching that you're going to have to do as far as how to use the platform itself. However, there does need to be scaffolding on digital design, what it means to write in different places, what is Composition 2.0, what are self-sponsored literacies. All these sorts of things need to be worked into the class and be spoken about with students, because of course there's no reason to be using technology if you're not thinking critically about it with the students, so they can see what are these affordances and limitations that come along with using this sort of platform. What I have here are different examples of student work, and I'll just show a couple of them right now. But one of my favorite ones is or favorite assignments for my students to remediate is a rhetorical analysis. Specifically, if they're looking at something with pop culture, they're able to use images within the text itself. They're able to show different whatever they may be talking about. So in this first one that we're looking at, the student was
Here's the situation.
watching the final or analyzing the final scene in Pulp Fiction to think about who has the power in the scene. And what she found was, depending upon where the gun was pointing, really changed whoever might hold the power. That the power player in the situation was the gun, not necessarily the people holding it. So if you can look here, you'll see that she can point to specific scenes to make these different, or make her argument based on her thesis. And being able to kind of pull in different ideas, especially with the background and the way she kind of settled it, was an easier way for her to go about explaining her point. Another way that I use it is through blogs, and here I have the students go through and see what they think about writing itself. It might be the same sort of things that you would do in, say, a day book or a writing journal or wherever it may be. Obviously, I allow them to do some wildcards where they can write anything that they want. And there are some end of the semester exam things, but he's still writing about technology. He's writing about writing in disciplines, everything being a remix or remediated, looking at resources and research in the library. This is on the National Day of Writing, about discourse communities. So all the things that we're doing within class, he's able to write a blog post about and get feedback and comments from other members of his class. And then finally, I'll show you one more before I move on. And this was another rhetorical analysis. But what she did on here was she was looking at Eminem's My Name Is video specifically, and trying to show that the way that Eminem presents himself within this video itself and the lyrics shows that he is trying to play or make a place for himself within the rap genre. And so she was trying to show how he broke the genre mold itself. By looking at his lyrics, she's able to embed video. She's able to pull out specific lyrics to kind of show what's going on, include a different video, audio clips, images from other rap videos and what those might say, as well as different images from Eminem's pieces and work. Uh, Talked about having Dr. Dre in there as sort of an ethos appeal, and then how he overall concluded or how she concluded by explaining how Eminem defied genre norms themselves. Although I have a lot of other ones that you could look through at some point, there's ethnography, some other inquiry projects that should give you an idea of what students are able to do. And none of these students had any sort of experience with Wix before making these great sites. So what Wix can support is Composition 2.0. And within Composition 2.0, we've got connective ways of knowing, right? Thinking about hyperlinking, moving to other things, pointing to different places within their writing, or pointing to another person's website. There's participatory learning in the sense that they're able to share, collaborate. They can think about the rhetorical challenges involved. They learn how to develop digital personae and have this sort of digital online presence. They learn with heuretics, so thinking about learning as doing, not necessarily theorizing about something, but actually making it and constructing it on their own. It's about remixing, it's about collaboration, it's about choric invention, reveling in that messiness. If you are interested in any other websites that I've made, I've got links for them here. This is on digital design in general and how digital composition can give student writing a purpose. This is a website I developed for my former lecturer position where we talked about e-portfolio design and what it means. This is a piece on digital inquiry and participatory composition. Here I have a website from my computers and writing presentation where I defined Composition 2.0. And then on the far right, this is my digital syllabus for one of my courses. So to learn more about incorporating website builders like Wix into your classroom, please fill in your contact details, get to me. You can either follow me on Twitter, Kendra L. Andrews, or send me an email at kendralandrews@gmail.com. But I look forward to listening to you, and I appreciate you taking the time to check out my video, and I hope you found it interesting. Thanks.